Hey guys, welcome back. So in this video, let's try and explore the this database called Postgres. So this is how the interface looks. So now let's try and create a database. So we already have two databases already. We have one of them is the playground, and this is the Postgres, which is given by default. So now let's try and create a new database. So now let's right click and say create database. So I want to create a database called IPL because I'm a huge cricket fan and it would be easy for me to explain things in which is related to me. So I'm going to call this as IPL and let me say that. So now we have a new table. So I hope it's visible what's happening here. So we have a lot of things. We have cache and we have the catalog. So these are some default things which are maintained by the database for its own processing, for its own retrieval. We have event triggers, extensions. But what we are more important about what we are more concerned is about the schemas. So let's go into schemas. So in schemas, we have something called as a public schema. So this is a default schema that we have for any database that we create on the Postgres application. So in this, I want to create a table. So let's see what are the tables we have. So we don't have any tables. Let's try to create a new table, or we can, or instead of asking the of instead of it being created, we can use something called as a query tool. So let's see what it is. So we have this query tool. Okay, now we were given this canvas. So here we can write SQL queries, right? So we can write any of the queries. We can write the HTML queries. We can write the DDL queries. We can write TCL and any kind of queries we can write. So now let's try to create tables in a database. So as we want to create the database of IPL, so let me copy these commands and take it down. Okay, yeah, fine. Okay, let me paste it. So here I've written commands in this. So, query. I hope it's visible to you. But it should be visible now. Okay. So here I have used a DDL command. So we are trying to create a table, and we are naming the table as teams. It has one, two, and three entity and three columns. So we have to define what is the kind of data type it has to hold, and we can define something called as constraints. So here in this column called team name, I am enforcing that it should not accept any null values. So this is nothing but how we enforce the integrity into our entities, right? So here I have defined three of them. So this is an integer, so this is a varchar, so these are some sort of mm, a standard ways of how we can store integers and strings. So a varchar means it is a variable character length. We can mention what is what is the expected length. We can say 50. Even if we are trying to put more characters, it will eventually accept it. But for but for but for any record, by default it will allocate whatever the characters that we have explicitly said. And here we have something called as a primary key. I think we will learn about this when we're gonna talk about normalization. Uh, but to understand, so for this particular table teams, if we were to identify every record uniquely, then we need to have a one column such that it will be able to fetch the record with its own value. So we want one of the column to be unique, and it should be not null, and it should be a reasonable candidate to be called as a primary key of the table. So we did mention these team ideas or a primary key. So now let's select all the statements and click on execute script. So it is going to execute the script, and we got a message called create table. So the create table has been executed successfully. Now if we try to select anything from the table, we will it won't be visible. So from teams, so let me execute this query. So we have a table. We have a table with all the columns that we wanted, but we don't have any sort of data. And also to speak about SQL, SQL is not a case-sensitive language. It means we can give this in any case. It will still work. I can say and I mean it is so distorted, but it will still work because it is case insensitive. But it is actually a good practice to use all uppercase because most of the SQL procedures are actually written in uppercase. So it's it's good if we follow the all these norms. So now I need to insert some values into the database. So we can use the insert command to insert some values. So let me take that command. Okay. Now I said insert into teams. So we have see it is not necessary to mention this thing because eventually we know that what are the values that we have. So what are the values that we are giving here are going to be inserted in the same order. So sometimes it's not necessary, but it's a good practice to kind of tell your database that what are the values that I'm actually interested in. So yeah, so we are trying to insert three records into the table. So let's select this and execute query. So we were able to insert 0 to 3 records into it. So now let's try and select. So we have all these records inserted into the table. And there is some meta information about what is this. This is a primary key integer, and then the team name is a character varying 50, and the city is also a character varying 50. So this is how we can create a tables. So now let's try to populate our a database with other tables as well. So now, uh, so now, so now I'm going to create a table called players, and I'm going to give all everything at one place. So I'm going to create the player. So I'm going to create this table called players, and it is going to have the player ID as its a primary key, and the player name, and we have a team ID. So I think if you remember our previous table, it also has something called as a team ID. So while designing the databases, so it is often a practice that uh, one table might might use another column of some other table for its referential integrity. So, so in this table, so we did the same thing. So we did use something called as a foreign key. So this is a foreign key. So whatever the team ID present in the players is a foreign key that references the the team ID of the table teams. So this is how we can enforce a foreign key reference. Uh, so let's not get more into this. Let's just execute this queries and see if we can create it. Yeah, executed. So inserted. So the table is created and inserted. Now let's select from it. Yeah. So yeah, it is also created. So now we're able to create these tables. We do have some more tables, but I think it's okay. Let's do them as well. So let me create another table called matches. So it's about how different matches are working. Okay. Executed successful, and we are going to create another table called player stats. Okay. So we are going to use all these tables in our future videos for explaining the joins, inline queries, and CTs and other hierarchy queries. Okay. So I think our database is done. So and I also wanted to talk something more because I wanted to explain how the transactions work. So let me start. So let me picture something. So we can use something called as a keyword. So we can use this keyword called begin. So this will enable us to start a transaction. So let me do this. Okay. Let's see which is the easiest one. Okay, let's use Teams. Okay, before beginning the transaction, let me see what we have. So before the transaction has started, we have three rows. So we have three records in this table with a CSK, MI, and RCD. And let's try to do some operations. Okay, so let's try to insert into Teams values. So let me insert a new one with an ID 4 and a team called SRH with city Hyderabad, right? So let me insert this query. Let me also run this begin command as well. So it will initiate the transaction. Now so remember that here uh, the auto commit settings are such that auto commit will be on always. You just have to explicitly stop it from being auto committed. Okay, now let's run this begin statement. Right, so the query is committed. Now let's try to insert. So after inserting, now let's try and select. So do we have four records? Yes, we do have four records. But okay, now somehow after doing some task, I got into a situation where I don't need that fourth team in my table. I have to redo whatever happened. Then I just have to manually, I can manually do that by calling the delete statement on the fourth record. But we can call the rollback. Okay, what if I execute the rollback? What would happen? So I executed rollback. Now let's try and select start from teams. How many of them are we getting? So we're only getting three of them. Whatever the changes that has happened in between this transaction and rollback, it it will be it will be redone, right? But what happens if I want to commit that? Okay, I'm not going to roll back. Let me begin another transaction. Okay, I have begun another transaction, and in this transaction, uh, I did enter some other values. Okay, okay. Now I want to insert this value, right? So now it is inserted. If I select from teams, I can see the fourth record KKR, and okay, I know that whatever the value that I have inserted now, I know that it is a very critical data, and I want this data to be committed. So so I'm gonna say commit. So it is going to make sure that whatever the data, or sorry, whatever the processing that has happened up till now is going to be committed. Now if I execute this, and if something happens to the if something happens to the system, it will still exist in the database. Even if I say rollback, it cannot remove whatever the update that we have done. Even see, there is no transaction in progress, it's saying. So even though if we have done something, it is not going to roll back to whatever the data that was committed, right? So this is one of the feature. So now let's talk about a save point. It's going to be an important one, right? Okay. Now let's start with rollback. So let me begin another transaction. Okay. Okay, and I'm trying to insert a few things, and some of them are important and some of them could be important. So let me define a save point. So let me say this is a save point of March. Okay, that would be a better way to understand. So in March, I have inserted a new team. So in March, I have inserted new team, and March I have inserted another team called Punjab, maybe. Right. And actually this is one save point, and I will create another save point called April. In April I have added another team with the number 8. We're going to add RR. Right? So let me execute all of these at once. Let me execute all of these at once. It says 8 point. Was there an issue? Okay, maybe I had a semicolon on these things. Okay, so when you're trying to execute multiple queries, it's always a good practice to end each statement with a semicolon. Okay, now let's try and execute this. Current transaction is aborted. Okay. So can we do everything from beginning if possible? Yeah. Okay, so we have to redo everything. Uh, Not a great sign. Okay, let me stop the transaction that are happening. Can we? No. Let me commit this. So rollback was done. So if we try to look at the teams, so we have inserted 3 records. So how many of them are there? So we only have 5 of them. So that means the last committed. So the last commit was done here. So whatever was inserted up till now is been committed. Okay, it would be great if we were able to exclude this. Yeah, so we were able to insert them, right? Okay, now let's look into the database. So what do we have? Okay, now let's. So we have all these records like 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8. But I haven't committed this a transaction yet, right? See, I haven't committed it. But even before committing, uh, I I thought I made a mistake in April. But whatever the data that was there up till April was fine. Then how can I roll back to whatever the data that was present? I mean the data of insert till 7 is the actual data that is correct. Then I can roll back to the save point called March, or okay, let me say April. Okay, if I execute this query, what would happen? It says it was rollback, and if I try to select the row, so we are supposed to get up till 7. Yes, I got it. Okay, what happens if I try to roll back to the save point March? So we are supposed to get records only up till 5. That was expected behavior. Let's see what would happen. Okay, it got rolled back. Now let's try and select. So how many records are we getting? Yes, we're getting up to five. But okay, can I roll back even further? No, because there are no save points. Even even if you try to save point, if we did use something called as commit, it is not going to work because since we have already committed, whatever the values we have up till here are going to be persistent. So we are not going to be able to revert them back, right? This is how we can use SQL to write queries, and we can use these transaction control statements as well. So I think we have explored every statement. Yes, we are yet to learn about the DCL commands. So these are actually very easy, and actually on a developer's note, it's not so important for us. But we can grant all, or I can say I can grant select and delete on some table called teams to some user u1. Okay, let's say user 1 or something. So if this user 1 exists, it's gonna work. And after okay, when after then after a few days, if you want to revoke whatever the privileges that you have given, you can use the command revoke to revoke all the privileges from the user one. So this is not so much useful if you're trying to be a developer. So I'm going to ignore that. So I think we have seen how each of the SQL statement works. In the next video, we'll see what are the different levels of queries that we can write on tables, and what are the hierarchies that we can explore. So I think that's all for the video, and I'll see you in the next video.